KSWAM, San Antonio College Radio. This is the Urban Suite D Major. Cheryl Meadow with you. Joaquin, Angel, Felipe, thank you. Joining us right now. Joaquin, we're just speaking off air. Explaining exactly how you got into, actually literally born into community organizing.
That's right.
Explain to the people.
So currently I work as a community health worker. My official title is called Community Builder Health Worker. Mm-hmm. I'm helping build communities and build connections within the communities around things that people need. So like food pantry stuff, diapers, kids' clothing, helping, homeless folks get hot foods or cold foods, building, getting connections with young folks to mental health resources. Where can they find free healthcare or cheap healthcare? Just a bunch of different things, but also in the same process, teaching folks and learning about social justice and building knowledge around social justice, and being a person who can, who finds the energy and to teach around issues of race and racism and and gender politics and that kind of thing. So yeah. I make time for it, and that's kind of like, it's my job, right? And so, but I come from a long line of community organizers. My mother and my father were both community organizers in Del Rio. So it's my father, Raul Abrego, my mom, Diana Abrego. And then my sister too, who is, she's one of the main organizers for Del Rio's Pride.
Okay.
And so then we just grew up, my brother, me, my brother, my sister, we grew up going to everything. My mother was helping organizing skateboarders from being arrested. Mm-hmm. And so they would do these like show up and show out skateboarders, showing them that there's safety, that they can do safety, practice safety and still skateboard. And so then like my mom would build these skateboard teams, and there I was, with my skateboard running around and making sure that I was a part of it. But I was also like part of like the cleanup crew, like everybody would leave and then we're there mopping and cleaning, picking up trash, that kind of stuff. So when I moved to San Antonio, right, because I'm originally from Del Rio, from the barrio of San Felipe, when I moved to San Antonio, all that part was all my training, like all that was part of my training. So I jumped right into social justice organizing here in San Antonio, doing work around Chicana education programs. And I used to be the president of Mecha here at SAC.
Really?
And yeah, so that's Movimiento Estudiantil Chicano Chicanas de Aztlán. So it's like the student movement around mm-hmm. Chicano issues. And and so that's what it was all. So it was like kind of like part of me, So when I got the opportunity to become a community health worker, I quote unquote community health worker, which for me is just community organizer. I really jumped at the opportunity, and which opened me up to being more connected in institutions. And so now one of my biggest the responsibilities that my own passion is to close the gap between community organizers and institutions that need community organizers, and show people how important it is to have people who know the community.
Yes.
And to be in the community and to be able to make that point. So like if a doctor is saying, why are so many people in San Antonio have high blood pressure and diabetes, it's like, ask the community themselves. They know, they have mm-hmm. the knowledge of this. What they don't know is how to translate that language, because they didn't go to school and they didn't learn all the the narrative around what doctors are learning, but they have their own. So like, you can go into any community and say, oh yeah, my sugars are high. Oh, the doctor would say, well then stop putting so much sugar. It's like, no, my sugars. Or in Spanish they would say, mis azúcares. Pues ya no le echas azúcar. It's like, no, doctor, my head hurts and I'm my legs are falling asleep. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's some of the work that I do in the community.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad you touched on that. A lot of the institutions and things like that sometimes do a very poor job of connecting with the community that they're trying to serve.
Yeah.
And it takes community workers, outreach people to kind of explain and point things out to them that they might not see.
That's right.
In order to make the proper change that needs to happen.
And so the one thing that I'm very blessed to have is my boots on the ground. I'm like a street rat. I'm like in the street all the time, talking with folks, building with folks, doing things that like I think are necessary for you to have that relationship. Like if I go to a place where people have a community garden, right, I will get on my hands and my knees, throw my fingers into the dirt, and show that I am willing to build that type of communication, where I will be willing to help build them community gardens. I'm not just going to show up and say, hey, I'm going to get you guys money and see you guys later. Hopefully you guys do well. No, like I will literally, and I encourage anybody that I'm working with to do the same. We're gonna, wear your dirty clothes because we're gonna get dirty with the community. We're gonna do community organizing. We're gonna do gardening, and so it's just a bunch of different things. So I work with a lot of programs. One of them being, helping and volunteering for places like Ecocentro, which is just across the street. Helping them volunteering at their farm, the Garcia Street Farm, but also connecting those same urban agriculture masters and knowledge keepers into other members of the community and helping them build up gardens in the community where we can use like the majority of the food that they grow to feed those communities themselves.
Yeah.
So then we're basically putting the power back into the people's hands, which is for me the end all be all. The people are the power, so let's put the power back into the people's hands.
How does the connection, in your own personal words, what does it mean to you to have the ability to connect your community outreach and organization with the music that you're providing to San Antonio as well?
So, I mean, in the most simplest way, when you're working and you're organizing, when you're talking, when you're working on your car, when you're cutting your grass, you're listening to music, right? And for me, it's just like I'm creating the music that I listen to organizing. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I grew up with was building lowriders. Working alongside cholos who might have narcotic issues and helping them to build mental stability. And so the music that I make, or the music that I like to write, is Chicano soul. Chicano soul is one of those types of music that makes anybody want to shed a tear, that makes anybody want to be emotional or get emotionally involved in the music. You open that door just a little bit, and you can help end stigmas for men's mental health. Give them the opportunity to cry, let them shed that tear. Yeah. But also too, like, this is a soundtrack of what it's like to be a Chicano, what it's like to grow up a Mexican American in the Mexican American diaspora. I like to call it the warrior call. Yeah. The warrior call. You start to hear those doo-wop tones, and everybody's kind of like, ooh, that sounds good. But it's like it gives you those chills. Those chills are like positive mechanisms for coping. Instead of the drinking and the drugs, like, you just gotta hear the music, and it helps you build up your DNA. You get stronger, you get better, you get a better mental health. So for me, that's how it's connected.
Yes, music for the soul.
That's right.
Most definitely. And y'all, stay tuned. We've got more coming up. Do not go anywhere. In fact, in this block of music, we have a track from the Menahan Street Band plus Mayor Hawthorne. Nice. But let's go ahead and get into another track from Joaquin. This is I Remember. Do not go anywhere. This is the Urban Suite, KSYM, San Antonio College Radio.